So I'm 31 years old and I've been doing some reflecting, and I was just going through some financial and life advice that I would give myself back when I was 21 and I just graduated university. All right. Just quick thing for those that don't know, I currently live here in Rio de Janeiro. I work remotely in software sales for a tech startup, and that's pretty much how I make my money and how I'm able to kind of live my lifestyle out here in Brazil. Been living here for the past 2 years now, and yeah, man, it's been good for me. I'm in a pretty good situation right now. Really unique experience living in a different country, having to speak a different language, being in a long-term relationship with someone that is not of your culture or doesn't speak your language. So that took a lot of growth for me. So I have a lot of things that I've learned over the past 10 years now that I'm 31 compared to when I was 21. Never would I have imagined when I was 21 years old that I would be living in a different country, being able to speak a whole new language, not have to commute to an office like I had to when I was in my 20s. I used to work in corporate finance. I went to school at a university in Connecticut, and I majored in economics, and I went and worked in corporate finance and had to do that. And I lived in Connecticut for a while, lived in Boston, lived in Orlando for a little bit, and now I'm here in Brazil. So the first piece of advice that I would give myself back when I was 21 is be consistent when it comes to saving and investing, right? So when I was 21, I was incredibly impatient when it came to business success, finances. I wanted to be a millionaire right away. And that was pretty dangerous because I didn't give myself the time to plant very solid foundations for myself financially and career wise. I wanted to go from here immediately to here right away. And the danger of that was I was susceptible to all of these different online gurus that were talking about how to make a quick buck doing all kinds of different business models that, to be honest, I really wasn't excited about doing. And so, I graduated university. I was around $40,000 in student loan debt, and I started packing on more student loan debt by paying for all of these different coaches and gurus, starting different business models that required startup costs, like building a supplement company, for example. And I got into even worse of debt. I got into $60,000 worth of debt. And so instead of building on top of the foundation that I had when I graduated university and working in corporate finance, I made my situation even worse, right? By essentially trying all these different get-rich-quick schemes, right? I was able to kind of get a little bit of success by being an online fitness coach for 2 years, but I eventually stopped doing that. I was really impatient. I was trying to get rich quick. I wasn't saving and investing consistently like I should have. Like, for example, I wasn't really taking advantage of the 401k match that was given to me at work. I wasn't consistently saving and investing a portion of my monthly take-home pay. And, for a lot of those years, I was actually getting into worse of debt, and I really wasn't building that strong foundation of, letting time and compound interest work for me. Unfortunately, a lot of those years kind of went to waste, but the positive thing is that I ended up actually learning from those experiences. And now to this day, right, I'm actually debt free, and I'm in a situation now where I'm starting to build more wealth for myself by being able to save 20 to 40% of my monthly take home pay from my remote software sales job, and able to put that into savings and quality investments for myself, which is really good, and is something that I'm really grateful for. Okay, so that's one thing is be consistent, build strong foundations for myself, and just take it easy. I think I would have been a lot better off within my first corporate finance job is right. Just at the bare minimum, take the 401k match, right? Just start getting a strong foundation for yourself, right? With the student loans, just pay the bare minimum, right? And then if I really wanted to be aggressive, maybe just start paying a little bit more of it, right? That's something that I would have done. And then maybe also start progressing overloads. Like, okay, well, how can I start investing in some of the other investments, right? Like whether that's like a Roth 401, a Roth IRA, maybe a little bit of crypto here and there, maybe dabbling a little bit in individual equities or some low cost index funds and ETFs. That would have been great as well. But yeah, I was just trying to go way too fast, and if I was just being consistent, I would have had way more. I probably would be closer to being a millionaire, or $1 million in net worth right now if I just applied the concept of progressive overload and was as consistent within the past 10 years. So that's one thing that I would have done. And then, the other thing too is like the concept of, building a business. Like there was nothing wrong with me wanting to build a business, but what I was doing was I was trying to skip steps. Like I wasn't laying down the foundations. I didn't stick to the businesses that I was doing long enough, right? Like I didn't identify the business that I think I could stick to and have fun for within the next decade. Like I was just jumping around and trying to do the thing that was going to give me the fastest return. And by doing that, like I didn't stick with something long enough to build the foundations, and I didn't have to go into debt to try to build these businesses, which was completely stupid of what I've done. So the advice I would give myself back then is, hey man, like instead of trying to do the thing that would get me the most money, pick the thing that you intrinsically and genuinely would enjoy regardless of whether you made money or not. Like, so like, for example, like just imagine if I was already a millionaire and I already had the fame, I already had the status, like what would you do, right? Identify what that thing would be and then just like stick to it and find ways to make it more fun so you can then be consistent. And then because you're consistent, you're now able to stick with something long enough where you can get the benefits of the compounding effect. And from there, I most likely would have had a successful business by now. So that's another thing, right? Just being patient, learning consistency, finding ways to apply the concept of progressive overload into my life in terms of financing, learning how to save and invest, paying down the debt, building up my business, and then even doing the same thing with my corporate finance career, right? So that's one thing that I would have done. The other thing is this concept of, being consistent with my career. So I was in corporate finance for about 4 years. In reality, I probably could have still been in that career, but because I wanted that quick upside, I joined and did software sales, right? So I work in software sales now. I jumped from corporate finance. I became an SDR at a Japanese software startup. And then now I'm in enterprise AE, which, I do make really good money now, thank God. But to be honest, I probably could have made the same kind of money staying within corporate finance. And I probably could have also been remote at a startup, but working in finance. So that's one thing. Like I didn't really have to jump into software sales. Like I could have just stayed in finance and make roughly around the same amount of money with still the freedom of being remote and finding ways to structure that so I can still be in Brazil just like how I am today. So that's one thing. So those are like really two key areas of my life. Like I was just too eager to try to be this perfect, like rich, successful young guy right away. But I mean, now that I look back at it, like I think in some ways that might have served me. So like because of that, I do have like I've experienced a variety of things and I've learned a lot of lessons. But if I just kind of stuck to a few things and I was consistent and I applied that progressive overload over time, like man, right now at 31, I'd probably be a millionaire in terms of net worth and probably a successful business owner, or at least really successful within finance in a tech startup capacity, which would be interesting. So for anyone that's like watching this and you're, even in your teens or early 20s, like the number one thing I would advise you is just to identify a few things that you really enjoy and that you think that you can stick to in the long term for like decades. Don't think in terms of the next few years. Fuck that. Think in terms of decades. Men who think in terms of decades are incredibly powerful, right? And you can think in terms of long term in terms of that, right? And I know it's hard, right? We all want to be, young, rich, successful within the next few years. Like it's very tempting, right? You see all these guys on, Instagram and TikTok and saying, oh, how they've made all this type of money and all that success within, a year or so. Like, forget all that. Stick to the long term, be consistent, find ways to enjoy the things that you're doing. And I pretty much can assure you that you will find yourself being successful much further down the line. So don't make the same mistakes that I made. Like, obviously I was able to kind of somewhat make up for lost time, right? Like, I'm in a really good career right now. I work remotely. I live in an area that, I live in Brazil in Rio de Janeiro. I love that kind of lifestyle. I'm now out of debt. I'm starting to build, wealth for myself. I'm in a great relationship. So things have started to work out for me, but man, like, I would have been way successful a lot earlier, way more successful right now. And I wouldn't have had to go through all the different trials and errors that I did, but maybe it was just in the plans for me through God. So just my 2 cents, just an opinion that I'll give to my younger 21-year-old self. And hopefully you learn something from my experience. All right. Peace. Take care.